So in the last lesson, we talked about how we can use sine law to find missing sides and angles in certain non-right triangles. Okay? These, remember, sine and cosine law are used for non-right triangles. But not every case we can use sine law to find a missing angle or side. So we need another law, and that's cosine law. And the cosine law, there's actually two formulas. One to find a missing side, one to find a missing angle. So we'll start with the side first. So if we're given triangle capital ABC, along with its sides, little a, little b, little c, one of the sides squared will equal the two other sides squared added together minus 2 times those other two sides by each other times the cos of the angle opposite the side we're trying to find. So notice the connection between these two. Notice the connection between these two. So if we're trying to find little a, that means we're going to use cosine of capital A, the angle opposite of A. If we were trying to find little b, then we would put capital B here. And so on. Little c, we put capital C here. This, you don't have to worry about a reference sheet or putting it on a reference sheet because you will always be given this. Always. So remember I said we use the sine law when in a situation with a non-right triangle, we know one of the sides and its angle opposite. If that's not the case, we use cosine law. So really we use cosine law in two cases. We're given two sides, the angle between them has to find the third side. Or we're given all three sides and asked to find one of the angles. So this first example, we are given two sides, asked and the angle between them, and we're asked to find the third side. So this is going to be a cosine law one. Because we can't use sine law because we're not given an angle and its opposite side. So I want to find little a. So little a is going to go on the left by itself, and remember it's a squared. It will equal the other two sides squared added together. So the other two sides are 20.5, square it, add 46.9 squared. Minus 2 times those other two sides multiplied by each other. Also multiplied by the cosine of the angle opposite of the side we're trying to find. So really, all we're doing is we're going to calculate all of this, and we're going to take its square root to find the answer. That's all we're doing. So let's do this in stages. I'm going to do that first, as well as that. Because it's kind of hard to do it all in one shot. So if we do 20.5 squared plus 46.9 squared, we get 2,619.86. That's when we square those two and add them. Minus, and then I'm going to multiply all this together, and I'm going to round it. Since this is 2 decimal places, I'll round this answer to 2 decimal places. I get 1,575.14. So then it's just a matter of subtracting the 2 and taking the square root. So when I subtract the 2, a squared is going to be 1,044.72. Therefore, a is going to be the square root of that, 1,044.72. And that's going to give me about, doesn't say what to round it to, so we can go 1 or 2 decimal places, it doesn't matter. I'll go 1. We get about 32.3. Okay. So pretty straightforward to find a missing side using cosine law. The thing you got to watch out for, watch out for is setting this up all properly before you do the calculations. Okay, example 2. Here we have 2 non-right triangles. And we're asked to find the length of x. Well, if I look at this non-right triangle, I can use cosine law if I know what this side is, right? Because then I'll have 2 sides and the angle between them, which means I can use cosine law to find this third side. But to find, I have to find this first using this non-right triangle. So I have to do cosine law twice. First time to find y, then once I get y, do it again to find x. This thing's really acting up. Okay, so to find y, well, we're going to have y squared by itself. So y squared is going to equal the other 2 sides squared by together, minus 2 times those other 2 sides multiplied by each other, times the cos of the angle opposite the side we're trying to find. So I'm going to do 10 squared and 6 squared at the same time. That gives me 136. Minus, and then when I do multiply all those together, I get about 41.04. So when I subtract those two, a squared is going to be 94, or sorry, y squared is going to be 94.6. Y squared. So y is going to be square root of 94.96, which gives me about 9.7. So now I know that this is 9.7. So now I can use cosine law again to find x squared. So x squared is going to be 9.7 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 9.7 times 6 times the cos of 140. Squared plus 130.09 minus. Now, when you do this one, you're actually going to get a negative answer. So it's going to be minus 89.17, which means that it actually changes to plus in this case. Okay? So you got to watch out for that. So x squared is equal to, when I add those two together, I get 219.26. X is going to be the square root of 219.26, which is going to give me about 14.8. That's my final answer. Okay? So that's how we use cosine law to find a missing side. We can also use cosine law to find a missing angle, but there's only one case. If we're given all three sides and we're asked to find one of the angles. Okay? Which this one is. A formula for doing that, which again, you will get. The cosine of an angle will equal the other two sides opposite, or sorry, the two sides that are not opposite that angle squared and added together, minus the side opposite the angle we're trying to find squared, over 2 times BC. Again, this one you'll be given. You don't have to worry about putting it on the formula sheet. Good deal. Okay. So we're asked to find the smallest side. How do you know which one's the smallest side? Which one would be the smallest side, A, B, or C? Why?
The opposite of C is 5, and 5 is the small side.
Perfect. Yes. The smallest angle will be opposite the smallest side. So we're going to find angle C because it is opposite the smallest side. Exactly right. So therefore, the cosine of capital C will be, well, little c goes here. The side opposite this angle we're trying to find goes there, which means the other two numbers go here, being squared and added together. 7 squared and 8 squared. And those two sides are also on the bottom being multiplied together by 2. So if we do the top, 7 squared plus 8 squared minus 5 squared, do that all in one shot, we get 88. On the bottom, 2 times 7 times 8 will give you 112. Well, I know what cos is. How do I find C? What do I do? How do I find angle C? How do I get rid of the cos? Yes, cosine inverse. So I have to take cosine inverse to cancel those out, which means I have to do cosine inverse of 88 divided by 12. And let's just round that. Well, let's go 1 decimal place. If you went to the nearest degree, that's fine too. You get 38.2 degrees. Okay. So one more example where we practice finding missing angle. And again, we can see that we have to we're given all 3 sides, and this time we're actually asked to find all 3 angles. So we could find 2 of the angles using cosine law, and then once we know 2 of the angles, we can just add them together and take it away from 180 to find the 3rd missing angle. So let's start with A. So using that formula, the cosine of A will be, well, what's the side opposite angle A? That goes at the end, being squared and subtracted. Which means the other 2 sides must go here. 58.3 squared plus 58.3 squared plus 61.2 squared minus 66.7 squared divided by 2 times 58.3. 61.2. Well, that looks like 0. Okay, so if we calculate the top, we get 2695.44. Multiply the 3 numbers on the bottom, and we get 7,135.92. So then, to find the actual angle, cos inverse both sides. So when I do that, take the cos inverse of this divide this, I get 67.8 degrees. So that's 67.8. And now we basically do the same thing again to find B or C. Except we have to switch the numbers, or where the numbers are located. So let's, might as well do B. I'll do it in blue. So the cos of B somebody tell me what the top's going to look like?
66.7 squared plus 58.3 squared minus.
Perfect. Oh, my battery's died. I think we're going to barely make it. 61.2 squared. Over on the bottom. Okay. Okay, it should be able to finish this. This is going to be 2 times 66.7 times 58.3. Cos B equals, calculate this one, 66.7 squared plus 58.3 squared minus 61.2 squared gives me 4,102.34. And on the bottom, 2 times 66.7 times 58.3 gives me 7,777.22. And then the final step to get B is cos inverse both sides. And B is going to equal 4102 plus cos inverse 4102.34 divide 7777.22 gives me 58.2 degrees. So this one is 58.2. And I mean, if you want to, you could do cosine law again on the third side, but quicker way would be just add the 2 angles we just found together, 67.8 and 58.2, and subtract that from 180, which is going to tell us angle C. So that gives us what? 126. Yeah. Okay. And 180 minus 126 should give us 54. I believe. Should be the third angle. Okay. Okay.